we're going to move on, though, into our second topic. And this one is actually a fan question that we are doing this week. And I want to give a shout out to Anish. Follow him on Twitter at Master4475, who hit us up with this question this week. And we're going to talk about it and answer this one. And Mark, I'm going to throw it to you. Here's what Anish said on Twitter. He said, will John Fox be fired after this season? I think he brings a lack of confidence in the locker room. What do you think? John Fox, is he getting fired?
I think, honestly, there's probably a good chance that he does get fired. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I think that after this disaster of a season when the Bears are probably going to go 2-14, because, guys, Matt Barkley's our quarterback now, most likely. Yeah, David Fales is back in the locker room, and yes, Jay Cutler hasn't officially been ruled out.
David don't fails.
Well, he failed his way out of a job for a little bit. But I know Jay Cutler's not officially ruled out just yet, but Matt Barkley's going to probably be our quarterback at some point. So, you know, it's very strange because this was the part of the schedule where there was supposed to be winnable games. There really were against, you know, the Buccaneers, the Titans, the 49ers. This is where they were supposed to be able to win some games and kind of save some things. But I don't agree that John Fox should be fired only because
he hasn't had his guy at quarterback.
He hasn't gotten his guy. We haven't been able to really see things. And the thing about the Bears, too, is the defense has started to look good, and then things fell apart because of injuries. You know, injuries are really what the big problem is for the Chicago Bears, and that's not a John Fox problem. You know, that is some of the coaching staff and the, you know, kind of, I can't even think of the name right now of the position, but you guys know what I'm talking about, of the kind of, you know, health and protection of your players.
Yeah, the trainers and stuff.
There we go. So those...
Mark's like looking at me like, come on, dumb fuck, help me here.
Yeah, like you're supposed to know this shit too. As the deal that we have here. So, you know, that's really what the big issue is. And, you know, you do have conversation every now and then where people say there's an issue within the CBA that players aren't getting the, you know, kind of warmed up to the football hits they need to take in the offseason. But that's a league-wide thing.
How the offseason, and I guess it's like, what, training camp
less
and
practices,
stuff? Yeah.
Less practices in pads.
Man, and they're even talking about that with the offensive linemen, where you get these rookies coming in and then they can't gel with each other because they haven't had that time in the offseason to do so. So it's the same kind of thing with injuries.
Yeah, and injuries are really what the big problem is. But at the same time, you know, I can't be a hypocrite. I call Marvin Lewis out all the time. I call Jeff Fisher out all the time. You know, the question is, when is enough enough? And there's a good chance in Chicago that 2 seasons, with one of them probably being a 2-14, if not a 3-13 season, you know, enough probably is enough in Chicago, and we might have to go somewhere else. Now, if we're really, really fortunate, I would love, you know, the Wolverine. I think I said it last week, Hugh Jackson.
You're hoping he gets shutted.
I would love him to get shutted just because I want to see what Chicago potentially could do with him. But the thing that I would be a little bit worried about is I don't want to lose Vic Fangio. You know, John Fox is John Fox. Whatever happens there is whatever. I don't want to lose Vic Fangio. I don't want him to be the head coach. I don't want him to not be our defensive coordinator.
Do you think that happens if John Fox gets fired? Do the Bears automatically look for Fangio instead of looking outside?
They could. The only real decent thing about the Chicago Bears is that the defense was starting to gel. But it's not even like the defense was that good. The defense was just kind of starting to put things together and be, you know, slightly above average. And then everybody got hurt.
See, here's the thing that I think of. And with me, it comes down to, okay, if you are going to fire John Fox, you need somebody to take the spot. At this point, I know that, like, as we get to the end of the season, there are going to be names that get thrown out there. But at this point, who do you magically see as the answer to your question for replacing John Fox? Because let's be honest, a lot of Bears fans, and you guys should be upset with this, should be upset that you guys didn't hire Bruce Arians when it was Bruce Arians or Mark Trestman. That's what you guys should be angry at. But you can't look in the past.
People are
past is a
also, of
past
course,
and it's
going to
gone.
say, oh, we should have gotten rid of John Fox last year and just
Yeah.
let Adam Gase come up.
But it's one of the. That's another good point with Adam Gase now being in Miami.
Suddenly getting some success.
But there are some. To me, there are some early options for guys that you could look to take over as head coach. And I'm not looking at guys who are already with head coaching teams like, oh, they're going to get fired. There are just two guys that I look at that are coordinators who it's like, okay, let's go ahead and see what they have and just see if they can bring anything to this team. And the first one that I look at, and he's a guy where we saw Mike Quinn get picked off from Seattle for his defense. This is a guy offensively with the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, Darrell Bevell, who's a guy where been doing some good things in Seattle. Is he a guy that we eventually see a team say, hey, let's kind of spark the interest and see if there's anything there that we can get to? I know that some teams may look at Todd Haley, but I don't think he goes anywhere. I think he's going to stay put exactly where he is. But one of the big ones that I am looking at for the Bears, and this goes to kind of back to the identity that you guys used to have, and I think this is going to be a guy towards the end of the season that we really hear talked about in Chicago, Sean McDermott. And I've mentioned him before, and the reason why I mention him is, A, he's a defensive-minded coach. Back when the defenses were good, 85 and in 2006, 2007, defenses were damn good. So he's a defensive-minded coach. And who's he the assistant coach for or the defensive coordinator for right now? Oh, just Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron. Where did Riverboat Ron come from? Chicago. So he's a guy that the Bears could look at and go, hey, you know what? Let's go back to the basics. Let's get this guy, defensive guy. He's in the same system with Ron Rivera, a good defense that was here in Chicago. Let's just go back to the basics. Let's get this guy.
Mm-hmm. It's possible. I think that Chicago's probably going to take a shot to see what Tom Coughlin's up to.
You think so?
Why not? Why not? I mean, I think that quite a few teams are going to give a call to Tom Coughlin and just see if there's any interest in him coming back. Because he, rumor has it, he would potentially come back to the right situation. So I think teams will make some call. Do I really want to see it? No, not really. I'm not sure 100% sold on the idea of it.
If Tom Coughlin comes back, do the Bears make a trade for Tony Romo?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't really. I mean, if it was like an Eli Manning type of situation, sure, a guy who actually played for him. And yeah, he's seen plenty of Tony Romo. But
I'm just saying, because I'm trying to picture, because that's the one position that the Bears, whether you keep or get rid of Fox, you got to nail down that quarterback position because let's be honest, Jay's bye-bye. He's out of here or should be out of here. If he's not, then the Bears are fucking stupid. But even if Coughlin comes in, that's a position they got to nail down.
Yeah, definitely they do. But the thing that I think is interesting about Tom Coughlin is just he was already one of the older coaches in the league. What is he, like 70? So it's definitely not completely easy to do. I think more of the people are talking about, if Gus Bradley gets kicked out of Jacksonville, which he probably should, Tom Coughlin maybe goes back to Jacksonville. Could be something that happens. Something crazy that I want to throw out there, just because I want to connect some dots and just see what happens. What about Charlie Strong?
Oh, I was thinking it.
I mean, he was good in Louisville. And yes, the experiment in Texas hasn't been that great for him, but he was pretty damn good in Louisville.
But it's what I said was this on the Primetime podcast when me and Brandon talked about it. One, the brand, I feel like the big thing in Texas was when you're at Texas, you gotta be a politician. And that's what Mac Brown was. You gotta kind of favor to the boosters, know how to talk to the boosters. and then kind of coach your football team. When he was at Louisville, he just worried about football. And, of course, after his first year, he had an okay quarterback in Froman his first year. But then he had Teddy Bridgewater. Mm-hmm. And he was locked down for 3 years. So with Charlie Strong, it's interesting to where I don't know if he'd be able to make the jump to the NFL.
He's a defensive coach.
But he looks like a guy where, can focus on the defense, and you just get him a guy at quarterback that can do his job. And I'm going to throw one out there, a guy that could be looking for some money the Bears to throw his way. What if they would, and this is all hypothetical, what if you do hire Charlie Strong, and then you go out and get a quarterback like Kirk Cousins? Mm-hmm. A quarterback that, I mean, it would be expensive, but a quarterback where it's like, okay, this is a guy where he didn't turn over the ball a lot this year. Like we said, 7 interceptions this year, but only 17 touchdowns. He's going to have, well, Alshon won't be there, but maybe Kevin White will be back. Meredith had been a good weapon this year. He's gotten a quality running back behind him in Jordan Howard. Hey, Charlie, we got your quarterback. Worry about this defense. Make this potential that this defense has and mold it with Vic Fangio.
Yeah. It's just interesting to think about it happening. I think the Chicago Bears, I don't know.
I think they got to go defense.
Chicago Bears, you got to look at, exactly. You got to look at what the team has defense. The only other thing I want to say about Tom Coughlin, of course, too, is when he first, was going to New York, what did he had the luxury of doing? Drafting a quarterback early on. So it's a situation where he can draft another quarterback.
But this quarterback,
there's no Eli Manning out there,
or Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
Those were the top 2 quarterbacks in that draft class. I don't think that they get anywhere near that, but I think that the Bears need to stick to their guns, go defense, but I do feel like, is it one of those things where I feel like John Fox should be fired? No, but it's one of those things of, I think it's just the situation just isn't right, and it's kind of like a, hey, it's been 2 seasons, should you get a third one? Probably, but
life's not always fair.
We've got people with pitchforks and torches out there, so we want to keep this stadium and this crappy field like it is in December when the season's over, when the grass is all dirted up and coming up, and we want to keep it, so we're basically going to get rid of you. That's what I think is going to happen in the end.
The only thing he might have going for him is if he's saying, hey,
let me get my guy.
Something does have to change, but it's not me, it's the quarterback.
And that's the big thing. The big thing for sure is that Jay Cutler needs to go. Jay Cutler's the guy that needs to go. And I'm not saying that's a thing of Jay Cutler sucks, which he does, and I believe that. But it's one of those things where, Jay, it ain't going to work out here. It just ain't going to work out here in Chicago. However, John Fox might be getting the door along with Jay Cutler, but this is where you guys come in. Unless, did we miss anything? Do you have anything else you want to say on this?
Let's just get Harbaugh.
Hey, that would be good.
It's not going to happen, but let's make it happen.
It could if Michigan bottoms out this year, loses to Ohio State. You can make a run at him.
Nah, he's got a really cushy job in Michigan.
I mean, there's no way he's losing that job. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know down below what you guys think. What are the Bears going to do with John Fox? Are they going to keep him? Are they going to fire them?